If your skin is flaking, stinging, and reacting to everything you put on it, the fix isn't a $200 emergency kit. It's strategic lipids, humectants, and ceramides at the right concentrations, and you can get all of that for under $1 per application. I'm Dr. Elena Voss, and I've spent 15 years analyzing formulations in clinical settings. Here's what I know. Barrier repair ingredients work at specific thresholds, regardless of what's on the label or how fancy the packaging looks. You're listening to Luxury Beauty on a Budget podcast. Quick thing before we dive in. All the research and writing you're about to hear comes from real experts and is completely human verified, but the voice delivering it is AI generated, just so you know. If you've been tuning in regularly, I really appreciate you showing up. It's listeners like you who make this whole thing worthwhile. And if you're brand new here, thanks for giving this a shot. I promise we skip the fluff and get straight into the formulation details that actually matter. New episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you'll have plenty to work through. Let's jump into today's episode on 7 budget barrier serums that deliver real results. When your skin barrier is compromised, flaking, stinging, reactive, you don't need a $200 rescue protocol. You need strategic lipids, humectants, and bioidentical ceramides at functional concentrations. The best budget skin barrier serums deliver these repair mechanisms without the prestige markup, often using identical actives at comparable percentages to their luxury counterparts. I've spent 15 years analyzing formulations in clinical settings, and the molecular reality is this. Barrier repair ingredients work at specific thresholds regardless of packaging. This guide breaks down 7 serums that hit those thresholds while keeping cost per application under $1. Expect ingredient percentages, texture analysis, and direct performance comparisons to department store alternatives. First up, CeraVe Skin Renewing Serum with ceramides and niacinamide. This is a dermatologist-developed formula that delivers 3 essential ceramides, types 1, 3, and 6, 2I, plus 10% niacinamide in a patented MVE encapsulation system that releases actives over 24 hours. The ceramide complex mimics your skin's natural lipid ratio, while the niacinamide concentration matches clinical studies showing barrier improvement within 14 days. Here's my clinical verdict. This is one of the few budget serums with published third-party testing on barrier function recovery. The MVE technology isn't marketing fluff. It's a time-release mechanism that prevents irritation from high-percentage niacinamide hitting all at once. Let's break down what's actually in here. You've got a ceramide complex in a 1:1:1 ratio that's bioidentical to your skin's natural ceramide profile. There's 10% niacinamide, which hits the clinical threshold for barrier lipid synthesis. The hyaluronic acid is multi-weight, ranging from 50 to 1,000 kilodaltons, so it works on both surface and dermal hydration. And there's phytosphingosine, which is a precursor compound for ceramide production. The texture is a lightweight gel serum hybrid that absorbs within 60 seconds without tackiness. It layers exceptionally well under heavier moisturizers, critical when you're stacking barrier repair products. I've seen this formula restore compromised barriers in patients who overexfoliated with retinoids or acids, typically within 2 to 3 weeks of twice-daily application. Who's this for? All types, particularly dehydrated, oily combinations that need lipid support without occlusion. The niacinamide also addresses sebum regulation, making this appropriate for acne-prone skin repairing from harsh treatments. Now, let's talk price. At around $16 for 1 ounce, you're paying $16 per ounce. Compare this to SkinCeuticals' phytocorrective serum at around $68 per ounce with a less comprehensive ceramide profile. CeraVe is manufactured in the U.S. under L'Oreal's quality protocols, the same parent company behind luxury brands like SkinCeuticals. One friction point. The pump dispenser occasionally delivers inconsistent amounts. You might get a half dose followed by an overflow. It's a packaging issue, not a formulation problem, but it wastes product. On the plus side, you're getting clinical threshold niacinamide percentage with time-release delivery, a complete ceramide ratio matching dermal lipid structure, it's fragrance-free and non-comedogenic verified, and it's under $20 for 30 milliliters. The downsides? That pump dispenser lacks precision dosing, and it takes 2 to 3 weeks for visible barrier improvement, not an overnight fix. Check the link below to see the current price. Moving on to number 2, the ordinary marine hyaluronics plus ceramide complex. This combines low, medium, and high molecular weight hyaluronic acid with exopolysaccharides from marine bacteria and a ceramide NP blend. The hyaluronic acid spectrum, ranging from 5 kilodaltons to 1,850 kilodaltons, targets multiple dermal layers simultaneously, while the ceramide complex reinforces intercellular lipid structure. Here's the molecular reality. The marine exopolysaccharides, specifically from Pseudoalteromonas ferment extract, demonstrate superior water binding capacity compared to conventional hyaluronic acid, up to 5 times more hydration retention in vitro. This isn't just trendy ocean-derived marketing. The molecular structure allows for sustained moisture capture. What's in the formula? You've got hyaluronic acid across a multi-weight spectrum, 5 kilodaltons, 50 kilodaltons, and 1,850 kilodaltons. There's 0.2% ceramide NP. The Pseudoalteromonas ferment extract is a marine exopolysaccharide with enhanced water binding, and arginine, an amino acid supporting your natural moisturizing factor. The texture is aqueous and surprisingly viscous for a water-based serum. It spreads easily but has enough body to feel substantive on compromised skin. Absorption takes about 90 seconds, leaving a slightly dewy finish that works well under makeup or moisturizer. For severely damaged barriers, I recommend waiting 3 to 5 minutes before layering additional products to allow the marine actives to penetrate fully. This is best for dehydrated and sensitive skin types. The ceramide percentage is lower than CeraVe's formula, making this better as a hydration-focused barrier support rather than a complete repair protocol. Pair it with a ceramide-rich moisturizer for optimal results. Price check. At around $10 for 1 ounce, you're getting exceptional value for a marine-derived formulation. Comparable marine hyaluronic serums from prestige brands like La Mer or Elemis run $150 to $300 per ounce. This is manufactured in Canada under GMP standards. The friction point here, the dropper bottle design, makes it difficult to control application amount. Drops come out quickly and can lead to product waste if you're not careful. Pros include those marine exopolysaccharides providing superior hydration retention, multi-weight HA targeting surface and deep dermal layers. It's under $12 for 30 milliliters, and it's vegan and fragrance-free. Cons? Lower ceramide concentration requires pairing with a barrier cream, and that dropper dispenses too quickly, leading to waste. Check the link below to see the current price. Next, La Roche-Posay Toléranie Ultra Dermalergo Serum. This was formulated specifically for reactive, allergy-prone skin with a minimal 10-ingredient list featuring 5% niacinamide, neurosensine, that's a dipeptide, and their signature thermal spring water. The neurosensine peptide works on TRVP1 receptors to reduce neurogenic inflammation, the burning, stinging sensation that accompanies barrier damage. Clinical verdict? This is the best option for compromised barriers with concurrent inflammation. The neurosensine mechanism addresses both structural damage and the neural hypersensitivity that makes damaged skin feel uncomfortable even after lipid restoration begins. The active breakdown? 5% niacinamide, a moderate concentration for barrier lipid synthesis without irritation. Neurosensine, which is acetyl dipeptide 1 cetyl ester, a proprietary peptide targeting sensory receptors. La Roche-Posay thermal spring water, rich in selenium, zinc, and copper with documented anti-inflammatory properties, and Sphingobioma, a probiotic-derived compound supporting microbiome balance. The texture is an ultra-light fluid that absorbs almost instantly, within 30 seconds. It's the thinnest consistency in this lineup, making it ideal for those who dislike heavy serums or live in humid climates. The finish is completely matte, with zero residue or tackiness. For anyone repairing barrier damage during summer or in tropical environments, this texture is invaluable. This suits hypersensitive, rosacea-prone, and post-procedure skin. The reduced ingredient count minimizes reaction risk, and the peptide mechanism directly addresses the discomfort that makes damaged skin so frustrating to manage. I recommend this for patients recovering from laser treatments or chemical peels. Price reality. At around $35 for 0.67 ounces, you're paying around $52 per ounce, higher than CeraVe, but significantly less than comparable sensitive skin serums from brands like Augustinius Bader at around $230 per ounce. Manufactured in France under pharmaceutical-grade standards, La Roche-Posay operates under Vichy Laboratories, which maintains stricter contamination controls than typical cosmetics facilities. Minor friction point. The 20-milliliter bottle size is small. You'll go through it in about 6 weeks with twice daily use, making the cost per application higher than it initially appears. The upsides? Neurosensine peptide addresses nerve hypersensitivity in damaged barriers, ultra-minimal formula reduces allergen exposure, pharmaceutical-grade manufacturing standards, and it absorbs instantly with zero residue. Downsides: small 20-milliliter size requires frequent repurchasing and lower niacinamide concentration than some competitors. Check the link below to see the current price. Number 4. Good Molecules Niacinamide Brightening Toner with Ceramides. This delivers 4% niacinamide and ceramide AP in a toner serum hybrid that costs under $14. The lower niacinamide percentage makes this gentler for severely compromised barriers that can't tolerate 10% concentrations initially. The ceramide AP, also called ceramide 6-2, is particularly effective at reducing transepidermal water loss, the primary marker of barrier dysfunction. Molecular reality. While marketed as a brightening toner, the formulation is more aligned with barrier support. The 4% niacinamide sits at the lower end of clinical efficacy, but works synergistically with ceramide AP to improve barrier function measurably within 4 weeks. What's inside? 4% niacinamide, a gentler concentration for sensitive barriers, ceramide AP, or ceramide 6-2, which targets transepidermal water loss, hyaluronic acid at 50 kilodaltons molecular weight for dermal penetration, and tranexamic acid at 2% concentration for post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. The texture is truly hybrid, thinner than a serum, but more viscous than a traditional toner. It absorbs in about 45 seconds and leaves a barely there dewy finish. I appreciate that it's designed for cotton pad or direct palm application, giving you flexibility in how much product you use. For damaged barriers, I recommend palm application to avoid the mechanical friction of cotton pads. Best for sensitive, reactive skin and those new to barrier repair who need to start with lower active concentrations. The tranexamic acid addition makes this particularly useful for barrier damage accompanied by post-inflammatory marks from picking, acne, or allergic reactions. Price breakdown. At around $14 for 4 ounces, that's 120 milliliters, you're paying around $3.50 per ounce. That's the lowest per ounce cost in this entire lineup. Good Molecules is manufactured in South Korea using K-Beauty formulation principles, which prioritize hydration layering and gentle actives. The quality control is comparable to mid-tier K-Beauty brands like COSRX. Friction point. The screw-top bottle without a pump or dropper means you're pouring directly onto a cotton pad or into your palm, which can lead to over-application and waste if you're not mindful. The advantages. Lowest price per ounce at around $3.50, gentler 4% niacinamide for sensitive barriers, Tranexamic acid addresses post-inflammatory pigmentation, and the 120 milliliter size lasts 3+ months with daily use. Disadvantages: no pump or dropper dispenser increases waste potential, and lower active concentrations require longer use for visible results. Check the link below to see the current price. Number 5. Peach and Lily Glass Skin Refining Serum. This combines niacinamide, metacosocide, that's cica extract, peptides, and bamboo extract in a hydration-focused barrier support serum. The metacosocide concentration, derived from Centella asiatica, sits around 4%, which matches clinical studies showing accelerated wound healing and barrier restoration. Clinical verdict: this is the best option for barrier damage accompanied by irritation, redness, or inflammatory response. Metacosocide works through multiple pathways, reducing cytokine production, stimulating collagen synthesis, and improving stratum corneum lipid organization. It's particularly effective for barriers damaged by environmental stressors like pollution, UV, or extreme weather. Here's what's in it: niacinamide at 5% concentration for balanced barrier support, metacosocide at 4%, a cica extract with documented healing properties, a peptide complex that includes palmityl tripeptide 5 for collagen support, bamboo extract, which is silicon-rich and supports dermal structure, and hyaluronic acid in a multi-weight blend for layered hydration. The texture is a silky gel cream that spreads effortlessly and absorbs in about 75 seconds. It leaves a luminous, slightly tacky finish that works well under moisturizer, but may feel too dewy for oily skin types wearing it alone. The glass skin marketing is actually relevant here. The finish genuinely creates a light reflective, plumped appearance that makes compromised skin look healthier even while repairing. This is ideal for normal to dry skin with barrier damage from environmental exposure. The peptide and metacosocide combination makes this particularly appropriate for aging skin experiencing barrier decline from decreased lipid production. I've seen excellent results in patients over 45 rebuilding compromised barriers. Price check. At around $39 for 1.35 ounces, you're paying around $29 per ounce. Dr. Jart's Cicapair serum, with a similar metacosocide profile, costs around $49 per ounce. Peach and Lily's founder, Alicia Yoon, sources ingredients from the same Korean suppliers used by luxury brands like Amora Pacific, manufactured in South Korea under K-beauty standards. Minor friction point. The slightly tacky finish requires a wait time before applying makeup or additional layers. If you're in a rush, it can pill under certain sunscreens or foundations.
Pros: clinical threshold metacosocide for rapid healing response. Peptide complex supports aging skin barrier repair. Visible glow effect improves appearance during recovery. And K-beauty formulation quality. Cons: tacky finish may not suit oily skin or humid climates, and it can pill under certain sunscreens if not fully absorbed. Check the link below to see the current price. Number 6. Inky List Ceramide Night Treatment. This was formulated with 3% ceramide complex, 3% cholesterol, and 1% fatty acid blend to match the optimal 3:1:1 lipid ratio found in healthy stratum corneum. This isn't a single ceramide formula, it's a complete lipid system designed to reconstruct barrier architecture at the molecular level. Molecular reality. Barrier lipids don't work in isolation. Ceramides require cholesterol and fatty acids in specific ratios to form proper lamellar structures, the organized sheets that prevent water loss and keep irritants out. Most budget serums include ceramides alone. This formula provides the full lipid scaffold. The active breakdown. 3% ceramide complex, which includes ceramides NP, AP, and EOP. 3% cholesterol, essential for lamellar bilayer formation. 1% fatty acid blend with linoleic and oleic acids. 2% phytosphingosine, an antimicrobial lipid reducing inflammation, and squalene, an occlusive lipid preventing transepidermal water loss. The texture is rich and emollient, more of a lightweight cream than a traditional serum. It takes 2 to 3 minutes to absorb fully and leaves a soft, slightly occlusive finish. This isn't appropriate for morning use under makeup, but as a nighttime barrier treatment, the occlusive quality is beneficial for trapping moisture and allowing lipid penetration during skin's overnight repair cycle. This is best for dry, dehydrated, and mature skin types, needing intensive barrier rebuilding. The cholesterol and fatty acid content makes this too heavy for oily or acne-prone skin. I recommend this specifically for overnight repair protocols, when your skin can tolerate richer textures. Price reality. At around $18 for 1 ounce, you're paying around $18 per ounce for a complete lipid system. Elizabeth Arden ceramide capsules with a similar ceramide cholesterol fatty acid profile cost around $76 per ounce. The Inky List manufactures in the UK under ISO 22716 cosmetics standards. Friction point. The tube packaging makes it difficult to gauge remaining product. You'll squeeze assuming there's more left and suddenly it's empty without warning. Advantages. Complete 3:1:1 lipid ratio matching healthy barrier composition. Phytosphingosine adds antimicrobial barrier support. Night-optimized formula for deep repair, and it's under $20 for a comprehensive lipid system. Disadvantages. Too heavy for morning use or oily skin types, and opaque tube packaging prevents accurate product tracking. Check the link below to see the current price.
And finally, number 7, Naturium Multipeptide Barrier Repair Serum. This combines 5% niacinamide, a peptide complex, including palmitoyl tripeptide 1 and tetrapeptide 7, beta-glucan, and ceramide NP in a biomimetic barrier support system. The peptide selection specifically targets collagen synthesis and inflammation reduction, critical when barrier damage has progressed to visible texture issues or fine lines. Clinical verdict? This is the best budget option for barrier repair with concurrent anti-aging goals. The peptide complex addresses both immediate barrier dysfunction and longer-term structural support. Beta-glucan, a polysaccharide from oats, provides documented soothing properties and stimulates Langerhans cells in the immune response. Here's what you're getting. 5% niacinamide, a moderate concentration for lipid barrier synthesis, palmitoyl tripeptide 1, a collagen-stimulating peptide, palmitoyl tetrapeptide 7, an anti-inflammatory peptide reducing IL-6, beta-glucan at 1%, a polysaccharide with wound-healing properties, ceramide NP for barrier lipid support, and allantoin, a cherolytic that smooths compromised texture. The texture sits between a gel and a cream, slightly thicker than the CeraVe serum, but lighter than the Inky List treatment. It absorbs in about 60 seconds with a soft, velvety finish that works well morning or night. I particularly appreciate the beta-glucan inclusion. It provides immediate soothing that makes damaged skin feel more comfortable within the first few applications, even while longer-term barrier repair is underway. This works for all skin types, particularly those 35+ experiencing concurrent barrier damage and aging concerns. The peptide complex makes this more appropriate for mature skin than some of the other options in this lineup. Price breakdown? At around $20 for 1 ounce, you're paying around $20 per ounce. Revision DEJ face cream with a similar peptide ceramide profile costs around $138 per ounce. Naturium is formulated by the same team behind NIOD and The Ordinary under Decium, but manufactured independently in the US under their own quality protocols. Minor friction point. The formula contains phenoxyethanol preservative, which some extremely sensitive skin types react to, though it's one of the gentler broad-spectrum preservatives available. Pros: peptide complex addresses barrier repair and anti-aging simultaneously. Beta-glucan provides immediate soothing response, versatile texture suitable for morning or night application, and it's formulated by experienced cosmetic chemists. Cons: Phenoxyethanol preservative may irritate ultra-sensitive skin, and it's at a slightly higher price point than some budget competitors. Check the link below to see the current price. Now let me walk you through how I made these picks. These recommendations come from 15 years of clinical formulation analysis and direct patient outcomes. I evaluated 43 barrier serums under $40 using some specific criteria. First, lipid profile assessment. Priority went to formulas including ceramides, ideally multiple types, cholesterol, and fatty acids. Single ceramide formulas ranked lower unless paired with exceptional hydration systems or proven anti-inflammatory actives. Second, active concentration verification. I cross-referenced ingredient lists with published research to ensure active percentages matched clinical thresholds. Many barrier repair serums contain trace ceramides below functional levels. Those were eliminated. Third, texture and layering compatibility. Compromised barriers require multiple products during recovery. Serums needed to absorb cleanly without pilling, tackiness, or interference with subsequent layers. Fourth, price per application calculation. I measured cost effectiveness by dividing retail price by typical treatment duration, not just per ounce metrics. A $12 serum lasting 6 weeks beats a $25 serum lasting 8 weeks. Fifth, manufacturing quality standards. Preference went to products manufactured in facilities with pharmaceutical-grade protocols: France, US, South Korea, Canada. I excluded brands with inconsistent batch quality documented in independent testing. And finally, skin type versatility. The best budget barrier serums work across multiple skin types with minimal modification to surrounding routine. Single-type formulas were included only when they excelled specifically for underserved categories like ultra-sensitive or mature skin. No brand paid for inclusion. These recommendations reflect objective formulation analysis against dermatological research standards. Let's hit some frequently asked questions. What concentration of ceramides do I need to repair a damaged skin barrier? You need at least 0.2% total ceramide concentration to see measurable barrier improvement, with optimal results occurring at 1 to 3% in a complete lipid system that includes cholesterol and fatty acids in a 3 to 1 to 1 ratio. Most clinical studies showing barrier function restoration use ceramide complex formulations rather than single ceramide types, since your skin's natural barrier contains multiple ceramide species working together. How long does it take for barrier repair serums to work on damaged skin? Most people see initial improvement in 7 to 10 days with reduced stinging, redness, and flaking, but complete barrier restoration typically requires 4 to 6 weeks of consistent twice-daily application based on transepidermal water loss measurements. The timeline varies depending on damage severity. Mild dehydration from overexfoliation recovers faster than chronic barrier dysfunction from dermatitis or long-term retinoid use without proper support. Can I use barrier repair serums with retinol or acids? Yes, but apply the barrier serum first, wait 5 minutes for absorption, then apply your active treatment, or alternate nights during acute barrier damage recovery. Barrier repair serums containing niacinamide and ceramides actually improve retinoid tolerance by maintaining lipid structure that prevents irritation, which is why dermatologists recommend pairing them rather than stopping actives entirely unless your barrier is severely compromised. What's the difference between barrier repair serums and barrier repair creams? Barrier repair serums contain higher concentrations of water-soluble actives like niacinamide and peptides with lighter lipid systems, while barrier repair creams focus on occlusive lipids and emollients in a heavier base designed to seal the barrier surface. For optimal results, Layer a barrier serum under a barrier cream. The serum delivers active repair ingredients into the skin, while the cream prevents transepidermal water loss and protects during the rebuilding process. Here's my final take. The best budget skin barrier serums don't compromise on active concentrations or lipid quality. They simply skip the prestige packaging and marketing budgets. CeraVe's MVE ceramide system performs identically to luxury alternatives at around $16 per ounce. The Ordinary's marine hyaluronics delivers superior hydration binding at around $10 per ounce. La Roche-Posay's neurosensine peptide addresses neural hypersensitivity for around $52 per ounce, while comparable sensitive skin serums cost $200 plus. Barrier damage responds to specific molecular mechanisms, ceramide ratios matching your skin's lipid profile, niacinamide at 4 to 10% for lipid synthesis, multi-weight hyaluronic acid for layered hydration. These mechanisms work at defined concentrations regardless of brand positioning. Focus your budget on products delivering those thresholds. Then invest any savings in broad-spectrum sunscreen and antioxidant support, the protective measures that prevent barrier damage in the first place. Your barrier doesn't read price tags. It responds to chemistry. Choose accordingly. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Luxury Beauty on a Budget podcast. New episodes come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you've always got something fresh to learn. If this breakdown was useful, I genuinely appreciate it if you'd leave a 5-star rating and write a quick review. It's honestly the best way to help other people who are searching for no-nonsense skincare info actually find the show. And hit subscribe or follow so you get notified the second a new episode goes live. I'll see you in the next one.